to Healing in
Hey,
Harmony.
welcome to Healing in Harmony.
I was so weirded out when I started using this microphone. I was like, that's not even me. Like, I don't sound like that. I feel like you sound different. I don't know.
I like made myself laugh so bad that video, that like story I posted
Yeah,
where I like was like, this is me without the mic, this is me with the mic, and I was like, without the mic, I was like, "Rah, rah, 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 rah," like, oh, see now you can hear me. I was like, oh my God. Like maybe no one else will think this is funny, but I think it's hilarious. So I'm just
it,
gonna like
it's
laugh, cry to myself about how funny I am.
it's such a trip. Hey, as long as you think you're funny, that's really all that matters. I think I'm
It's true.
hilarious.
It's true. Well,
Oh,
I am so excited to be doing this chat with you, whether
me
this
too.
turns into like a long ongoing podcast or not. I'm so excited. So since we are hosting it on my channel,
Mm-hmm.
I am Monica and I go by Monica Goldsoul, and I help sensitive women with healing. And so many people that I met along my healing journey were really impactful. And Sarah here is one of my favorite people in the world. And yeah, we met, what is it, like a few years ago now? Two, three, what is it like? Oh my God.
I wanna say we went to the Teal Swan thing. I think it was 2021. I could have
That
that wrong.
sounds
Could have been
familiar.
2022.
It
I'm not
sounds
sure.
familiar because I know when I was there, I was like, I know when I discovered her work, I was really going through it.
Yeah.
And so it was really cool that
Same.
I met you like towards the beginning. Thank God. Yeah. Thank you, universe. Same
Right?
for you.
Oh, yeah, that was when I that's why I get it mixed up because I don't know. I was separated, from my
Mm.
husband, so I don't know if that started in 2021 and, like, ended fall of 2022, so I don't remember which summer it was. Maybe it was 2022
I'm pretty
because
sure you guys like were like fine and then or like whatever and then separated after I like right when I was getting to know you and I was like, "Oh, okay,
oh,
like learning about you and your world and your relationship and yeah, if that
if
helps."
that's the
But
case, it would have been
yeah.
2021. Regardless, we've known each
Either
other
way.
for a couple years.
Yeah. Yeah, but like the point being that I'm really glad we met each other. I mean, I didn't really take the time, I guess, to like think about that as far as your journey, but that makes sense from what I know about you and your journey, obviously, that like we're both at that like rough place together. And I think it's
Mhm.
so like cool how, I don't know, I just remember for so long thinking like, it's funny, I can see so many of these things traced back to my dad's like point of view and certain things about how, oh my God, I just lost my track of thought. That has been
It happens all the
happening way,
time.
way too much to me lately. Um, hmm, eh, eh.
I always just like it'll come back. I don't worry about
Yeah,
that anymore.
exactly. Like something to do with my dad and his thinking and it'll, whatever. Love you, dad, but it'll come back. Um, yeah, but, oh God, it's like right on the tip, but it's fine. It'll come back.
I feel like, yeah, when that happens, you just have to like keep talking about whatever and then it will
Hmm.
come. But yeah, no, I feel like I don't know, I don't know that we were in the same like trenches of what we were dealing with, but
Yeah.
I just remember feeling when we met that I had just like instantly met like this kindred spirit and I was like so excited because I was coming out to Santa Barbara in like a week and you're like that's where I live and I was like oh my god we should hang out um but I feel like it's one of those things when you meet each other like being both sensitive and kind of in this like parallel path of like working through the hard stuff you just like are like magnets to people like that
Yeah.
and so that it felt very like kismet to me and I think we've talked about this recently like I feel like you and I have probably found each other in every lifetime, and this is
Mhm.
just what
Oh
this
my
one
gosh.
looks like.
I agree. Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, and that somehow whatever it was related to what I was thinking about my dad of just how yeah, it's this all of these I come from this line of thinking of very like logical and not spiritual and
Mhm.
very like so it was a total like mind fuck when I got into all of this and perspective shifts. And anyway, to bring it to this is just like, yeah, I was never one to believe that like, oh, things happen for a reason and the universe attracts what you need and like the frequency and like resonance and all of these things that now I'm just like, oh yeah, like of course.
Right.
Um, and it's so interesting the like so many pieces to that, but it's so interesting. One, like little tangent, it's just interesting the ways that all of that thinking has like impacted my life. But I just think that it has allowed me to feel so much like more safe in the world and like
Mm,
having a deeper understanding of like, oh, okay, so I'm going through these patterns because not because I'm being like punished or I'm bad or wrong or whatever, I'm in all this suffering because it's actually like the universe trying to help me be like, hey girl,
mm,
hey, like here's this
yeah,
thing. And so then having that deeper understanding of like of all of this has really helped me to shift from like, well, I did everything wrong, and how do I know that wasn't
mhm,
supposed to happen? That was like for one example to make it more concrete here, like I remember a coach telling me or me going to support or whoever, right? Being like, well, that wasn't the way it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be this way, and I did it wrong, and this and that. And they're like, that was the way it was supposed to be because that's the way that it happened. And like
yeah,
that's just like and helping unravel all of these things. So anyway, all that's like, yeah, connecting back to when we met and it just being like, even at that time, I didn't have this like expanded perspective, but now I'm just like, yeah,
mhm,
especially looking back always, but now I'm just like, yeah, like, thank goodness the universe, like, whether it's some like universal being or just the energies, like us like attracting like towards each other, but yeah, it's just like we attract what we need and I attracted you
100%.
and I'm
Oh,
so glad. And it's so funny how, yeah, the like I think that we probably have met each other in like every lifetime and that's like so beautiful. I literally like thought of that recently and was like crying like all these
oh,
people like Sarah and whoever and this and that and even negative people in my life who have had
right,
like a difficult impact. I had this moment of like, oh shit, like that was meant that was kind of meant to happen so that I
mhm.
could go through that pain so that I could learn the all of the things and yeah, I'm so tangenting here. I know it, but it's
But
okay.
that's, like, what our conversations are always that's how they
Yeah.
always go,
Yeah.
and that's what I love about them because we can talk about so many different things in just, like, a short amount of time,
No,
and
everything's
honestly, when I
connected.
met you, these are the types of conversations that I was missing in my life, and I think that's where
Yeah.
we probably even though everyone's circumstances of how I think you kind of hit a rock bottom or, like,
Yeah.
seek spiritual stuff or whatever you wanna call it all, um, I think that's where we probably aligned is we were like, because I resonate a lot with what you're saying, where you're like, I kind of was, like, feeling towards learning more about energy and just like lessons and all that stuff and karmic whatever. And but I was still also in a place where it's like, but I was doubting every choice that I make. And I was like
Mm-hmm.
thinking I shouldn't have done that or should have gone this
Yep.
way or I should have done X, Y, and Z sooner or later or whatever. And now I have the same like belief as you or just trust, I guess, that whether it's a soulmate or a teacher, like, everyone's meant to come into our life. There's, like, a season and a reason, and I used to hate sayings like that, like everything happens
Yeah.
for a reason.
Yeah, all this stuff that was just like, fuck you, like a corny
Yeah,
teacher, whatever. And now I'm just like, shit, like it's
like
true. Oh
it's
my God.
right.
And
Actually, it's
now I'm
true.
just like, how do I not be that corny?
Mhm. That's
Yeah.
why I like
Uh,
a reason and a season, because like,
mm,
it it just reminds me everything's temporary, and when I,
mm,
like, remember that, it doesn't there's things that were probably super horrible that don't feel as horrible, because it's like, well, everything passes and everything is temporary,
mm.
and, like, I also used to hate that too. Look at me being the person saying I used to hate it when people are like, "Feelings are temporary," but it's
Yeah.
true, like, it's so true.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
I
so hard
mean
being that bridge too between like, shit, now I know that stuff's true, but I also remember how shitty it felt. How do I
but you know what?
bridge
We've
that for
talked about
people?
how it's when you say things like that matter to people. So
Yeah.
I feel like when someone's not ready to hear that, or they're, like, in the trenches of it, it's very invalidating.
Oh
And
yeah.
so it's like I'm saying this about myself. I'm not telling this to anybody else. And I think that's, like, the difference, because
Mm,
if when I'm, like, talking to my friends last night, so I
mm,
won't say names, but I have a
mm,
friend who, as like many of my friends that again, we find I like finds
mm,
like kind of thing.
mm.
And so a lot of my friends have struggled with codependency, and she's
Oh,
like still in this place where I know she's wanting to be more independent, but she still feels this like responsibility and loyalty to her family.
yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
we were supposed to go to this same event last night, and she was like, "I can't go. I need to do this thing for my mom." And my immediate, like, thought was like, "Well, you don't need to, you don't have to, like, but if I would've said
Ugh.
that to her,
Yeah.
that's so shitty for me to say, because if she feels
Yeah.
like she needs to, then she needs to go do that, and maybe one day I can say to her, "You know what, like, I think it's really awesome that you're choosing yourself now instead of, like, other
Mm.
people," but, like, if I were to say, like,
It's so
you
hard.
know,
Yeah.
that would have been so
Yeah.
shitty and invalidating, and, like, honestly, instead, I was just like, "It's so hard to be in a situation with family that's struggling, and, like, to, like, hold space for that and witness that and be there, and I hope that,
Mm.
however tomorrow night goes, that you can take care of yourself, like, when you get
Mm.
home." That is, like, a more
Yep.
appropriate thing to say
Yep.
than, like, "Choose yourself."
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh gosh. Yeah, I got like physically like uncomfortable as you were saying
Right?
for a minute just because I like know in my body what that feels like and I've been there of course like of course the codependent stuff and my family and all of that but no I got like the feeling the like somatic
Mhm.
feelings because I remember being with one of my ex-boyfriends who had a lot of his own, like, of course, many of his own issues, and his mom had a lot of issues. And yeah, I remember him, like, my car was in the shop one day, or for some reason, he had to
Mhm.
pick me up from work, which I was just like, okay, like, I know he runs late all the time. I was like, I don't want to be waiting around after dark for hours. I was like, being really annoying, being like, be here on time, you know?
Yeah.
And then it was just like, oh, like, he ended up being late, of course. And, then just being, oh, sorry, my mom, and I couldn't leave the house. I
Mhm.
had to do this. And I remember that was before I did any of my own healing work. So I
Right.
did not respond probably very well at all. But I remember even back then, like it's so interesting to think because I personally was so stuck in all of my own like codependent stuff with
Mhm.
my family. But I think maybe what prompted this was I was in that place where I was like making the hard choices that were like painful to
Oh,
be
yeah.
like no, and I was in the place where I was doing the hard no's,
Yeah.
and then he tells me this, and I was just and I
You're
again
like,
not
"No."
not the right thing to say, but I was just like no, like you are literally like a grown person. Like, you don't
Mhm.
have to do that. It's actually you feel guilty because your mom has health
Yeah.
issues. So it's right. And I like
We can
really
see
like
all the things.
directly was like, no, like this is actually what's going on here. And like
Yeah.
that's not a trauma informed way. Now I know. But um yeah, it's so painful to be stuck in those places. But yeah, like to your point, I feel like, and even when I was in those places and someone would come to me and kind of like have that harsh,
Mhm.
direct thing, I don't know if it's like my rebellious nature or what, but it almost made me like dig in more to the thing that was terrible. And I was like, "Eh, I know this is terrible and I'm digging in out of
You're like, "They don't
spite," or
know."
like, it's just like, yeah, exactly. It's just this like invalidating thing. And it's really challenging. And I think that is part of what has taken me so long, whatever,
Mm.
to bridge into from my healing, my from my own healing to like doing that work with others was like first I knew my whole life like since I was a kid like I'm gonna freaking figure out how to heal one day and then I know it's my mission to help others like now I know
Mhm.
that was just like an intuitive hope download that I got that allowed me
Yeah.
to have some hope to get it through. But there was a good, so I needed to do my own healing work till I got like for sure stable. Like I'm stable. I've been stable for a while. Cool. Now let me go like help others. But I think that there was also a delay, even more in that for me, because I, being an empathic, sensitive person and going through many of those experiences of being like told, and I write about it in my book, you probably read it already, that about like well-intended coaches, like kind of
Mhm.
spiritual bypassing and like, oh, you think positive, your parents mean the best, like whatever, like all the kind of things that people try to say
Yeah.
that ultimately are invalidating and wounding and aren't helpful. I ran into a lot of those, like along my healing route, where it was like, I felt like I was in this desperate place of needing to heal, and I was like trudging through the mud, doing the healing work,
Yeah.
and then it just felt like I'm getting like punched by like you chose this life. Your
Right?
mom tried their best. I'm just like, fuck. Like, I know, but like, I'm still where I am. Like, gosh, you
And
know?
it still sucks.
Yeah.
Still
And so I
sucks.
think it took me a extra long time to bridge my own healing and healing for others because I was like, how do I do this in a way where I'm not wounding others through good intentions, through this same kind of thing? How do I take my experience and then my trauma experience and my healing and then my healing and how do you actually heal while you're trying to heal like the coaches and just
Mhm.
navigating it all. So I think that's why it took me a long time to like start. To me it seemed like a long time. No one else knew what the heck I was doing, but
No, it's true. It always like, when you're in it, it feels forever, and then I feel like people then meet, like, the healed version of you, or I guess it's not even healed, it's, like, the actual version
more
of you.
healed.
It's, like,
Mm, mm,
just you and not
yeah.
all the coping things that you gathered over time through all the trauma. And then they're like, "Who is this person?" And it's like you just appear one day, but you're like, "Oh my god, this has taken years or decades," like, but I think it's
Yeah.
good that you bring up the point because, yeah, that conversation I had with my friend would not have
Mm.
gone that way, like, even a year ago, and everyone when I was in treatment, everyone knew me to be the, "Don't give her toxic positivity," like, "Do not we don't
Good.
bypass here. There's no, like, spiritual gaslighting, like, this."
Yes.
And but people would ask me, like, "Well, what do you mean by that?" Because
Mm.
something something that is, like, good intended or intention I don't know how you say that. Something that's, like, meant for good intention or that, like, might actually be true, and, like, what's the difference between what's toxic positivity or what's just, like, a hard truth that maybe you don't wanna hear, and I think that this conversation we're having is, like, defining for me, defining it is, like, when it's the, like, wrong place or the wrong time, right? Like, it if and especially if you skip over the piece of validating and go straight to that,
Yeah.
that's what the bypassing is. It's
Yeah.
like, we're not saying that the positive thing isn't true or, like, won't be helpful, but, like, when, I think, is super important, and I learned that in therapy, like, with my therapist in
Mm.
treatment and my couples therapy with my husband. If he goes even straight into, like, trying to fix or apologize or explain, his
Mhm.
side of things, but doesn't acknowledge that he heard me or doesn't
Mhm.
validate what I shared, I, like, can't even hear
Mhm.
what's coming out of his mouth because
Mhm.
it seems like by I'm like, "You just completely skipped over what I just said," and he's like, "No, I heard every word." I'm like, "I don't know that because you went
Yeah.
straight into explaining and, like, defending yourself kind of, and it comes off as defensive if you
Yeah.
don't take that one small step, it's, like, crucial, and so that's just how I try to communicate now, but I wasn't like that before. I was especially with Cameron, which is my husband, by the way. I, like, I keep saying my husband, I'm like, "I need to just say his name because I'm gonna probably be talking about him." Um, but I was like that with the boyfriend that you talked about.
Right.
He would especially with his family too, I'd be like, "You don't have to do this, you don't like it that's the programming in your family and the like, all
Right.
this stuff," and he
Right.
never wanted to hear it, and
Yeah.
I would say it, and now it's just like, I just let him make his decisions, and I make
Mm.
mine, and then
Mm.
if something comes up about it, I'm not like, "I told you so," I'm just like, "Oh, yeah, that's it," I do
Mm.
kinda see that dynamic a little bit, like, it's just
Mm.
the way I communicate is so different, but I was not always like that, like, I was kind of an asshole, like, not gonna
Yeah.
lie.
No, I can so relate. It's so hard sometimes. I think especially in our like romantic relationships. It's one thing like when
Mhm.
I'm doing my coaching work or whatever, but especially in our romantic relationships, it's hard.
I
It's
know.
yeah.
I
Oh my
wonder
gosh.
I've been
Yeah.
curious about that dynamic too, like, why are we so quick to give like, one of the things that, has always been said is, like, don't talk to yourself, and, like, would you tell
Right.
a friend, like, the mean things you say to yourself? And it's like, yeah, for a friend, I'm so quick to give compassion and understanding and patience, but with my husband or my ex-boyfriends or whatever, like, that is n not did not used to be the case, and it's like, why is that? Like, why are we so quick to just, like, jump down their throats, but everybody else gets more patience from us?
I always kind of noticed that and always kind of thought now the language that I have to kind of explain back to kind of the thoughts of like, I always thought it was kind of like an attachment thing. Like it's
Mm,
like the closer you have of an attachment with someone, the more you feel like well, I can be in my sweats right now, Sarah, and you would still love me. I could probably be
mm,
mean to you right now, Sarah, and you would still love me because you're my best friend and we've
yeah,
been best friends. So, right then it's just like it's that emotional like piggy bank that we think we've like,
mhm,
oh, no, we're close enough to where like and it's not even a conscious thing. Like I notice it with myself too when I'm being short with my
mhm,
boyfriend or whatever, but yeah, I think it's like communication is such an interesting thing and it's so like that's why I studied it in that was my undergrad was communication and I
mm,
came from a family that was very like not communicative, not healthy and I think our society as a whole really struggles with communication. I think you're talking about like someone coming and trying to, give someone else support and not like knowing what to say. And I think one thing to that is that, yeah, like maybe we can talk about like what I know in one of my trainings. I don't know if you remember, I think it was what last year when I was still working at the crisis facility. Um, they sent me to a community resiliency model training
oh, right, right,
and that was really interesting. And one of the things that's coming to mind from that is really like, yeah, what you were saying about making sure that we're validating people before we're asking them to move, right? Like meeting someone where they are and then like, okay, let me come to you and then let's see if we can kind of go a more positive direction a little bit
Yeah.
together. Like
Yes.
not like, let me like see you and then I'm uncomfortable, so like you really need to come over
Yeah.
here,
I need you over here.
like, oh no, it's gonna be okay, all the things that, and it's funny, like it's so difficult. I was at this, I was co-hosting this event, doing yoga and my the past life, the like soul journey work that I do. And I was at this live event, and this woman came up to me after and was talking to me, and she was talking to me about like certain struggles. And like I do this, but I don't know, like I do this for a job, right? Supporting people, but like I don't know what in that moment I just like I was really tired and I was like feeling really whatever that day, and I just like was like had this moment of like, oh my God, what do I say? And then I was like, wait, like I know what to say. Like this is okay, like, and it was just almost this just like I don't know how to explain it. It's like being on the spot and wanting to say the right thing, but not knowing where someone else is at, not knowing like, should I ask questions? Should I not ask questions? Like it's so hard to know what to say. So, I mean, the community resiliency model talked about, yeah, validating people first and really one example, which is like probably a a good example is like if someone while I was at the training was obviously in context of if we have I was the director of staff development, so I trained the other staff members. So I'm at this training and absorbing like that information from that point of view of like, oh, okay, so now I can go back to my facility and tell the staff members when I train them, like if you have someone that comes to you and is asking you about like or is really struggling with maybe they just had someone pass away or die or something like that, that's one of the biggest things where like we don't know what to say to someone like, oh
Hmm.
my God, like I'm sorry. And then we're just like internally like, oh my God, I don't know what to say. Do I ask about them? Do I not? Like we just
Yeah.
don't know how to navigate it. And so from that, their kind of step on how to support someone in that is kind of the opposite of what we like tend to do. We tend to kind of go like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and then like change the subject or something
Hmm.
instead of like going into it of like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. What was they kind of would they kind of instructed us to like help make some sort of a like reconnection between them. Like
Mm.
for example of like, "I'm so sorry. Like that must be so hard," right? Validating. "I see
Yeah.
you. That must be so hard. I'm so sorry." Validating. And
Yeah.
then like, right? So that always comes first. I see you. I hear you. That's so hard. Whatever.
Yeah.
And then, no, we're not even pushing someone now towards like, okay, how do
Get
we
over it.
overcome it? Like,
Yeah.
we kind of go into it like, okay, like, let's actually go into that a little more. Like, so I'm so sorry. That must be so hard. What was one of your favorite memories with them?
Mm.
Right? Being like a really easy go-to. And that like brings people like into like, oh, connecting with this person that
Hmm.
they used to be connected to that they're missing and like actually like really, and then from there, once you've kind of, whether it's this example or something else, validate, kind of go into, and then once
Hmm.
you're into that, now that resistance kind of falls away of like, defenses and stuff, and you're kind of, your feelings, you're kind of like, oh, she's going into, she cares, she's paying attention. And then from that place, you still want to like stay and kind of be gentle and not push people right away. And there's this natural kind of thing that happens when you let that happen kind of more naturally in a
Hmm.
still guided way, is that people like move towards their own meaning. People move towards their own perspective shift, their own growth, their own healing in
100%.
the
Yeah.
way that is best for them, not in the way of me going, oh, you should do
Telling
this
you.
and that and that. And then they're just like, yeah, and they kind of don't really do it because they don't want to and it's not their idea and they're rebellious like me and whatever, right? And so it's like naturally guiding people towards like their own answers, their own perspective
Mhm.
shifts of those things. Um and then, like on the other side, talking about communication and stuff, it's so hard to do this and I'm trying to figure out if I should even say this, but whatever, I'm thinking it. I'm like, it's so hard because on the other side, right? Uh, like someone coming to someone else, I'm upset and you are supporting me. Okay, and then you support me and you tell me something that's not helpful
Hmm.
because you don't know what the heck I'm feeling and you don't get it. And that like really wounds us and we're in such this raw, wounded place that it just hurts us. We're
Mhm.
not able to, at least when I've experienced that, when I've known of others who've experienced that, when I'm like that ability to tell someone, "Hey, I'm going to talk to you about this thing, but I'm really not looking for advice. I just need support."
Yeah.
Or telling someone about something and then if somebody starts moving into advice, hey, I'm sorry to cut you off. I need to cut you off. That's not helpful. I'm really not looking for that. That feels really invalidating, right? That ability to like stand up for yourself and stand up for your
Mhm.
needs and communicate what you need. It's like when you're in that place, you don't have that ability, and that's when you need it like the most to be able to
Mhm.
like vouch for yourself. So it's this really, I don't know. Anyway, tangent, this it's difficult in society and communication around that. But then even if somebody in that position did have the ability to say, no, I can't receive this right now, then on the other end, when people like face being denied, not everyone takes that well. Some people are, oh, well,
Mm.
I was just trying to help. Oh, well, right. We get like defensive instead of like, oh, okay, got it. This is information. Let me pivot.
Yeah.
Anyway, just dissecting apparently the communication there.
I feel like everything that you just described, I love that you talked about that community model because I forgot about that. And I remember you sharing some of that when you were there and how much I like resonated
Mm,
with it of like, yeah, that sounds like honestly, everything we're talking about right now, I feel like is what should be like, well, okay, two, I gotta say this two ways. So, one, we're now learning things that like we didn't know before. So I'm gonna say it's something our parents should have taught and modeled us, but they can't teach us what they don't know. So that's like a huge part. But also, this is what I feel like should be modeled and taught in schools. Kids spend most of their time in schools, and we are teaching them about all the things in life and half or more
yeah.
that they'll never even use,
Yeah.
but we're not talking about, yeah, being able to, like, say what
Yeah.
you need to say and not feel like you're being a burden to someone or that you're, like and not feeling the rejection if someone's like, "No, that's not helpful," or like, we're not
Yeah.
taught to communicate, and, like, literally, I think it's also harder being, like, neurodivergent because
Yeah.
there's so many, like, unsaid things and body language that we're constantly, like, taking in as sensitive people. It's, like, overstimulating to have a conversation anyways, especially with something that you can't fricking read, and so it's
Yeah.
harder, like, being neurodivergent and also trying to learn normal social skills that seem really obvious and apparent to everybody else, but, like, not to me,
Yeah.
at least.
Yeah.
And so it's and it I think also I lost my train of thought on that, but anyways, that I feel like as a society as a whole, it's really unfortunate that we get to the point where something horrible happens or we hit a rock bottom. Like, I learned about a lot of this stuff in
Yeah.
treatment, in residential and PHP and
Right.
IOP. I should not be nearly 40 years old learning this stuff, now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. You
so
shouldn't have to hit rock bottom first. Yeah.
no, like, communication is
Yeah.
literally like our communication connection, it's, like,
Yeah.
literally our lifeline to each other. And so,
Yeah.
like, even when you were describing the thing with grief, I had this conversation with one of my really close friends over the weekend about grief. There was this art show we went to, and this beautiful piece. I think I took a picture of it, but basically it was about
Mm,
her dad who had passed away, and it was so moving. She also had, like, a description about why she had, like, a dream. Her dad came to visit her in the dream, and
mm,
it was so beautiful.
mm,
Obviously really sad too, really heavy. And we were talking about how nobody talks about grief, and there's no, of course, there's
mm.
no, like, template for grieving. Grieving is one of the most wildest roller coasters of, like,
Yeah.
ups and downs. So, of course, there's no, like, one way to grieve, but exactly what you were talking about is, like, not only the validating and then the connection, like, bringing it back to the loved one that they lost, or any loss, not even, like, death, like, any loss you can grieve.
Right. Breakup. Yeah.
Yeah, and so bringing it back to that is not just a connection for the loss that they've experienced, but
Yeah.
then you're connecting with that person in that conversation, which would have, you totally bypass
Right.
and miss any connection possible if you go into, like, "I'm so sorry for your loss. How's
Right.
your week been?"
Right.
Or
Yeah,
like,
it
"How."
requires the other person to be vulnerable too
Yeah,
and to hear something potentially hard and to be able to hold
hold
themselves. Yeah.
space.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I just feel like it's such a nuanced thing, yet it's really simple when you break it down. It's like person A says this, listener says that. Like, it can literally be
Yeah.
simple,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's people struggle so much with it. I even but also, like, saying what's really, like, we're also not mind readers, and saying what's really on our heart or not helpful, and be able to be, like, authentic without coming across, like, super harsh or blunt. It's
Yeah.
also, like, a whole thing in itself, but I started practicing, like, when I go to the grocery store, like, with strangers, like, they ask how you're, like, especially Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's
Oh,
goes
yeah.
off, like, they just wanna have a full conversation with you, which it can be nice. Sometimes you're not in the mood, but I've
Sometimes
actually
you're just like, "No."
I'm all communicated out today. But it's so funny because they'll, like, always ask you how you are, and I think we've talked about this before. If we haven't, I've talked about it to everyone at this point now
Yeah.
in my life, where asking how someone is actually, like, a really intrusive question if you think about
Mhm.
it. It's We use it as, like, this flippant conversation piece, and they're not prepared for me to say, "I'm doing really shitty today."
Yep.
Or, "I didn't sleep well last night, so I am just, like, my bad social battery is in, like, the negative, like, I really don't wanna have
Yep.
this conversation, like, I appreciate you asking me, and can I just get my question?" Like, but that's the thing is, I started practicing that, like, I and I also remember being in treatment and going to the store, and people were like, um they're like, "Oh, do you live around here?" And I'm like, "Well, I actually live on Orange." And they're like, "Well, what are you doing here?" And I was like, "Well, I'm in treatment, like, down the street, and so I'm, like, technically living in South County," which I probably didn't need to go into all of that, but some
You're
people were
being you were just like, "T rip the Band-Aid, I'm just
yeah,
telling
I'm just
you."
gonna tell people what's really, like, I'm just gonna tell, and that's their response or how they take it is not my
Mhm.
problem or responsibility.
Mhm.
As long as I'm not being, like, harsh or mean, I'm just, like, being, unless they're being harsh. Unless they're
Yeah.
not being
You
nice.
don't have to, like, trauma dump on someone, you can just be
No,
like, "How's your day?"
exactly.
Like, "Kinda
Like, "What?" Yeah,
shitty."
"Listen, I'm glad you asked. Can you be my therapist for 3 minutes?" Yeah,
Yeah.
no, not that, but just being, like, authentic and honest and not, like,
Yeah.
hiding anything. And some people would be like, "Oh my god, that's amazing that you're doing that." It created sometimes a connection for others to share with me that they had been to treatment for various things for their mental health or disorders, and other people were like, "Oh." And, like, that was it.
Yep.
Did we just either change the conversation or we just didn't talk after that, but normally I'd feel so uncomfortable because, again, in society, we're trained that, like, silence is awkward and stuff like that too, and it doesn't have to be, and but now I don't, someone's reaction used to make me think I had said something wrong or done it wrong, or maybe I shouldn't have said something
Right.
at all. And
Right.
now instead, I'm in this place where I'm like, I answered that honestly. I answered it, like with what's like really going on to the best of my ability. And if someone else is uncomfortable with that, I shouldn't be like, it's kind of like if being mad at someone for being mad. I shouldn't be uncomfortable because they're uncomfortable. But
Right.
as a sensitive person, that's hard to do too, to like put
Yeah.
up this protection to not feel all their stuff. But I don't know, I'm coming more
Yeah.
to, like, being accepting of that now, but it's a again, it should be something that's really simple, but it's, like, really hard to, like, cultivate that and learn and to navigate, even the quick moment of connection you have with the person at the grocery store, let alone your partner,
For
like
sure. Yeah. No, but
yeah.
I love that. Like it's scary and like it's a challenge, but it is so much more telling and connecting. Like I've had that too where I'm at Trader Joe's or like whatever and someone's like usually like at Trader Joe's it goes like, so how's your day, or so what are you up to today? I feel like they've been, instead
Oh,
of
they do
how's your
or
day,
what are
they
you doing
switched
after
to what
this?
are you up to after this? Yeah, and I'm
Yeah,
like, oh, just like going home, going to go work, going to whatever. And then when it's like going to go work, they're like, oh, what do you do? And I'm like,
yeah.
oh, I'm a healing coach. Oh,
Oh.
and anyway, so just for that example, like sometimes people don't like ask and they're just and I'm just like, "Oh, I'm a healing coach." And they like don't know what that is, don't know what to say, and they're just like, "Oh, okay."
Oh,
And I'm like, "Great. Perf." And that's telling, right? I can like pick
yeah,
up on like either they don't want to talk more or they don't know what's up. That's fine. Or like then the people like that do connect with it that are just like, oh my God, you do healing work. Like what kind of
mhm,
healing work? Like this or that. And like one kid, so I say kid because I live in a college town and it's all these like
right.
college guys people. It was a guy at the, and so anyway, he's there and he's like, oh my God, like, do you like psychedelic? He started talking about his like psychedelic like friend
Ah,
who does like coaching, and I was like, yeah, oh my God, like
yeah.
psychedelic therapy is, and we like, right, it like had this
Yeah, see?
connecting moment where both of us, and it's funny, like, LOL. Oh my God, why do I say LOL instead of just ha ha ha? But it was really
That's like JK. The same thing, I
it
say
was
that
really
all the
funny
time.
because as he was like psychedelic therapy, he kind of like was like looking around like, oh my God, I don't want my like boss to hear me talking about like psychedelic, whatever. And so it's so anyway, that's like a funny little aside, but that's just like, yeah, you're to your point of just like when we're more honest, we have more opportunity for those like genuine, like authentic connection moments. um, of course, there'll be more moments where it's polarizing in the opposite direction of like,
Right.
oh, they didn't get it, and that can feel weird, uncomfortable,
Yeah,
whatever. But you can learn how to, deal with that. And then,
yeah,
but then like the opposite is just like so much more connecting, healing, and I think that's a big thing for me right now is connecting more. I
yeah,
think I did a lot of my like healing journey on my own, but I did a lot of it in like support groups and with people and stuff
sure.
too, which was so vital. I don't think I would have gotten to where I am alone. Definitely
Yeah.
not. Um, but yeah, I think, oh my gosh. And you were talking earlier about how you wish that it was like taught in school and like this
Mm,
communication. And I feel like if it was taught in school, then it would be so much like communication was taught in school. It would be so much, it would just be such a different society. Sometimes I like close my eyes and meditate or like do my
right?
little visualizations on like what would like life be like or what would the world be like if we had learned this in school. If we had learned,
Mhm.
I remember like learning about getting out of a toxic relationship, learning, oh, fuck, narcissism, that's a thing. Oh my God. And being so angry. Like I
Oh,
fucking
pissed.
cried every night in
Yeah.
trigonometry. What? But no one taught me like that a narcissist is a thing, that
I
like I
know.
should protect myself and have boundaries,
I
that
had the
I
same
should
thought.
money, healing, like what? I was freaking furious, man. I'm
Same.
just
I
like,
was like, "Why did no one warn me about these people?" Because I'm whether you know the term narcissism or not, which I feel like everyone does now, I honestly think it's a bit overused and
Yeah.
kind of used as like almost a slur towards people these days. It's like there's some people that are not and they're being labeled that. But like there's some
Narcissistic
real yes,
tendencies.
there's some real hardcore like undiagnosed or diagnosed narcissists out there. And it to me it's like the same it blew my mind because I was just like people talk about stranger danger. People talk about all sorts of things, and they teach their kids about like their private parts being their own and consent and all these things. But no one was like, and by the way, there's all these different personalities out there,
Yeah.
and here's what they all sort of the general gist of them. And especially being someone who is
Mm.
sensitive and more likely to end up in that dynamic in a relationship with not just romantic but friends and not seeing the signs in family members. Like I'm just shocked that nobody was like, by the way, there's people out there and you don't even have to you'd be like there's people out there that try to manipulate others.
Yeah.
And
No,
if
I
someone's ever if that ever feels like if you ever feel like you're in a position where you
right.
feel constantly confused and you don't know up from down, and you're just fucking exhausted, someone is draining you.
Yeah.
So
Some
narcissist or
unhealthy.
not, like
Yeah.
break that connection. Like that's toxic. Get out of like I don't think we needed the term narcissist to like be able to
Right.
explain that to
Right.
people. Like we tell kids not to get in like cars with people they don't know. Like
Yeah.
that's also a simple conversation. Like don't let people manipulate you. Don't people
Yeah.
walk all over you. Don't let people, tell you, that you should or shouldn't do something. Like we talk about
Yeah.
boundaries, we talk about all kinds of things, and yet
Yeah, and I don't understand why. I'm like,
narcissism
is
just
it
slipped everyone's
because
mind.
we don't have like a society doesn't have like a good understanding. It doesn't have a good like step by step, like here's what to do, here's what to look for.
That's your
But
next
like
book.
yeah, that's
That's
so
your
much of
next book.
my book, my content. Like I things have been overwhelming for me lately. I've been, trying to get a grip on YouTube and everything. I'm a one woman show right now for a lot of for most things. Um, but yeah, oh my gosh, sorry. My brain keeps jumping from this idea to that idea. And anyway,
There's
I
so many things to
so
talk about.
forgive me if I just like totally stop in the middle of a sentence and go somewhere else. But no, you were talking about yeah, I don't understand what it is in society. It's just this like this avoidance, this uncomfort with it, this maybe we just don't know. But yeah, that's
Mhm.
so much of my work is I'm just like, okay, here's how to tell if someone's in
Mhm.
my book, it was like these are signs of unhealthy relationship. These are or unsafe. I think I call unsafe relationship
Mhm.
versus safe,
Mhm.
and like being able to trust your judgment. And like there's so many interwoven layers to all of this. But I was thinking about, yeah, and like especially in my experience, I grew up, my dad was a police officer. And
Yeah.
he retired from law enforcement, like when before I remember, like when I was like a toddler or whatever.
Mm.
And so obviously my dad dealt with a lot of different people,
Yeah.
a lot of different unhealthy
Right.
situations and people specifically. Um, and I was very like overprotected in certain ways and
Yeah.
then absolutely unprotected in other ways that my parents were just no awareness, don't know
Yeah.
how, too scared, too awkward, whatever. Um, and these things that yeah, just like stay hidden under the rug about like narcissism and like I don't understand what it is in society that's makes it so hard to talk about these things. And it's like
Yeah.
similar to certain concepts of like I've been getting really into trying to educate myself on like financial literacy and education. And I think it's a
Mm.
very similar thing to that. We just go into this like overwhelm, don't know what to do, like shutdown mode, and then we like avoid it. And it's like money, healing, all of this stuff is so important, but then we just get overwhelmed and avoid it unless and until you are someone who gets slammed against the wall
Mhm.
all the way, hit rock bottom, and then you're forced to, like us, forced to deal with all this shit.
Mhm.
And I really wish that there was a more likely possibility that people would heal before they
Mm.
need to, but I also recognize, and this sounds really shitty, I also recognize how a lot of times you have to be in a lot of pain before you decide that you are ready. And so,
I
as
think it's
much as we can want people, oh, start early and it'll help, be like,
mhm.
no, they don't get it. That's okay. Just let them be. And like, that's what I've been telling myself, and when they're
Yeah.
ready, they'll be ready.
I think like
That
I
sucks.
just had this conversation with Cameron literally last night. So he said something along the lines of that he wished something more. I think this is actually word for word almost what he said. He wished something more tragic happened in his childhood with
Mm, mm,
I won't get
yeah,
into all the dynamics, but he
right.
said, "I wish there was, like, this one thing that made it, like, so horrible that it would've, like, kinda snapped me out of my stuff
Mm, mm,
way earlier." And I told him, I said, like, "I can see that." I was like, "But we also don't we think that that's how that would go if we think if the opposite
yeah,
happened, then the opposite outcome is gonna happen, but that's not necessarily true." Like, and I think more importantly than when you're, like, so and because pain is but there's some people can really be in pain, and, like, I have a
right.
low tolerance for feeling uncomfortable, like, I very much quickly wanna, like, resolve or fix something or, like, feel better. So I have, like, a low tolerance for that, and that's why I, like, do a lot of self-healing and growth work and all that stuff. I'm just drawn to it
Yeah,
naturally too. And so some people aren't, but I think something we've also talked about before too is and I recognize this with also not getting into too many details, but I went and filed a police report yesterday and
right,
for the thing we've talked about before. And
right.
I recognize when they actually asked me like, "Well, why'd you wait so long?" That's a question. And so in my conversation with Cameron and in this thing I had like all this was a theme for me yesterday. And it was
Mm,
very apparent that nothing is gonna happen. It doesn't matter how much pain you're in, it doesn't matter how much of a rock bottom you think someone's going through until someone feels safe enough
yeah,
to take action or to
yeah,
face the thing, until you feel safe enough to let the denial wash away and all the feelings and the waves of shit come in, it's just not gonna happen. So saying the same like, "I wish in my childhood this," that doesn't mean it would have turned out like my husband
right.
was only able to feel for whatever reason, to feel safe enough to finally admit, like, maybe my childhood wasn't as great as I thought it would or, like, was, because he was in such denial for a really long time. He just started to come to terms with it in, like, his mid-30s, and he just turned 40, so it I don't think that if something happened that it means that by the time he was 22, this breakthrough would have
Right,
come, like,
right.
it's just
No, not at
for
all.
whatever reason, he felt
It,
safer later in life. And same well, I know the reason why I felt safer later in life. Mine's
yeah.
pretty cookie cutter, but for him, it's like it wasn't gonna happen any sooner. But that's okay. But it's also shitty to say like that's okay because I too was like, man, I wish it would have happened earlier.
No, and it's so hard because yeah, saying like it's okay, like from our perspective, like it's okay,
Right.
but from the like my perspective a few years ago, I'd been like, it's okay. Like, what do you mean it's okay?
I'm
And
like,
like
it's not okay.
it's
It's like
but
not
yeah,
okay.
I
You
mean,
need to do
yeah, if
something.
he had like a worse childhood, maybe he would have like I met a woman earlier today who she wanted me to sign a book and for her and sell it to her
So exciting.
um and she was sharing with me, yeah, that um she how do I phrase this? Basically just that like that just reflecting to me like my strength and how it's really cool to see someone. I'm gonna try to absorb this as I say it because it's
Mm,
hard for me to really absorb these things. But that it's nice for her to, for that, just reflecting that, people who go through really traumatic things a lot of times aren't able to heal, aren't
mm,
able to um, find a way out, aren't able to, right, kind of
yeah,
figure out that upward trajectory, that upward spiral, and spiral into a lot of dark places and substance and suicide and
yeah,
things that, I've struggled with too.
yeah,
Um, and yeah, so anyway, with Cameron, what you're sharing is like if he had a worse childhood, like it might have tipped the scale too
right,
much to that end where he actually wouldn't have been able to come back from it. I don't know, I
exactly.
like to now with this perspective that I have, I do believe that like the universe, I think I say almost this line for line in my book, like I can looking back, I can see how the universe both pushed me kind of
Mm,
to that brink where I couldn't take anymore and
yeah,
gave me what I needed. And it was this very fine balance. Balance has been such a big theme for me lately. But anyway, it was
mhm,
this very fine balance. So with sticking with the Cameron example of like if he had a worse childhood, he might have ended up in a way worse position that he can't come
yeah,
back from. So it's like the universe almost like gives you exactly
yep,
the circumstances that you need it to be bad enough to push you, but
that, like,
not
breaking
bad
you.
enough to like break you, but right at that balancing point.
Mhm,
And so yeah, I think it's really, I really think it's amazing to see how far you guys have come with your
oh,
relationship and just like especially with men, they are a little more how do I say challenging to face the
mm.
healing work.
I mean, I don't think it's a secret that I mean, I
Yeah.
even heard in, when I was in Al-Anon, I even heard that, like, a statistic about how a certain percent, like a high percentage, like in the 80s or 90s, that the change usually in a home starts with the woman. So I don't
Oh,
think
for
it's
sure.
yeah, like I don't think
Oh, no,
it's a
yeah.
secret that I
Like
mean, even with doctors, we're more willing to get something checked
99%.
out, like
Yeah.
where men are like, my back's hurting, I don't know why, but I'm just gonna keep on going.
Oh my God, no. Oh God, yeah, no, my ex, why does this come to mind? My ex, I was over at his house. He lived with his dad. His dad was like on the couch, like keeled over, dying, right? Like dying
In pain, so
and
much pain.
pain. And we were like, Greg, like let's hospital, come on. And he was like refusing for so long. And anyway, it's funny but not funny, but he's
Not,
fine. So
no.
like it's
Okay,
it's funny.
good.
But it's just yeah, like even when I don't know. And like, but we all do it, right? It's not just men. It's that like
I'm avoiding going to the dentist right now, so
that
we all do it.
avoidance. Yeah, I
We all
avoid.
do
I
it.
avoid. Still, still working on avoidance. For me, for some things, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I totally am. I think I need to get another root canal, and I'm like, I don't want
Oh
to.
God. It's
Totally.
so it's the avoidance of the perceived future pain.
Right, and
We
honestly, I
avoid
could end up
that, but
being
then
fine,
avoiding
but
it makes it worse.
I
And it's
know.
a this is a good example because this is a good example when it's
Oh.
physical, we can see how,
Mhm.
okay, you need a root canal. If
Yeah,
you put it off another few months, another year, those teeth be rotten, girl. Like,
exactly.
right? Is that how it works? Like, I don't know.
Pretty
And
much.
that's the same thing that's happening inside of us
Inside, yeah.
emotionally, which we can't see because we're just like, oh, nope, like
Yep.
keep it down. But it's just like the longer you keep it
It's
down,
like
the longer you
poison.
avoid that fear of future pain, the actually like worse it's compounding, the worse it's getting, the longer you avoid the dentist, the
Yep.
worse it's going to be once you do go, kind of
Yeah,
thing.
100%. It's so funny because I literally I was like, "I really need to call the dentist today." Like, I have to. I've been putting this off.
I
But
so feel that.
yeah, no, but that I think I love what you said. It's like feelings that like the whole like you have to feel it to heal it. Again, you have to feel
You have to
safe
be safe
to
enough
feel the
first.
feeling. But
Yeah. Can't heal in a war zone. Yeah,
oh, 100%.
absolutely.
That statement you just said right there is like why I literally left my house and went into residential. It's just like a fucking war zone
I
here.
remember sitting on the phone with you in the parking lot of my old work, supporting you
Yeah.
and saying that. And
Ugh,
yeah,
100%. But yeah, no, that's
yeah.
it's like the feelings, especially like shame and guilt, like those, and I think shame for me personally, it's like shame, guilt, and grief is like it does feel like it's literally like I swallowed poison and it's just like rotting like holes
Mm.
inside me. But it's just you can't see it, right? But it's not reflected on the outside, but like on the inside. And even if you're avoiding it on some tiny subconscious level, like you know it's there. Like your
Oh, for
life
sure.
slowly starts falling
In
apart
my
like bit by
old
bit.
Yeah, my old like the therapist who led the support group that I used to be in would say this, I don't know how she would phrase it. Probably better than I'm going to. Maybe not. Give myself more credit. But
Yeah.
just basically that like we're like causing ourselves more stress by
Mm,
procrastinating. It's just like
yeah.
you're actually like, okay, for example, I need to some random example. I need to put away the dishes in the dishwasher, whatever, back
I
home.
actually have to do that.
And then
They've been in there for like 3 days. The executive
so
dysfunction.
this is the perfect example. And
Just talk about all
right,
the things Sarah's avoiding.
I have to, Sarah, you are calling the dentist. I'm texting you tomorrow. But no, so you have to put away the
Uh,
dishes in the dishwasher and and it's just like, ah, well that's annoying. Like I don't want to do that. And then it's like, okay, so I'm not going to do it today. Okay, I'll do it tomorrow. And then
mhm.
right? And then tomorrow it crosses my mind and I'm like, oh, that's so stressful. I don't want to do that. And then right, so it's like I do this for let's say a month, disgusting.
Right?
And
Disgusting.
disgusting.
Actually, yeah.
And but so honestly though, sometimes when I was like in the depths
Oh,
of that
yeah.
depression and healing, like that's
That's the
not the
last thing.
priority. But
No.
anyway, aside from that, if you know, that's not judging
Right.
anyone, but gross. And and anyway,
Ew.
each day that it crosses my mind and I go, oh no, right? Eat every single day for a month. That's me spending 5, 10 minutes, right? And it's
It's
also
taking
like
up space, like
interrupting what I'm in the middle of.
mhm.
I'm driving to wherever. Oh, gotta do that thing, right? Like it's
Mhm.
like interrupting, like stress, intermittent stress all over the place.
Definitely.
And instead of it just kind of being like, oh, okay, like
Whew, it's
I'm gonna
done.
do it, and I do it, and then it's off my mind. But it's so hard because in life there's so many different things for us to do, and our energy is pulled in so many different directions. And I know that was, part of what made it hard to, we're talking about things that like make it hard to start the healing journey of like avoidance and these things. and
Mhm.
and that's another thing that makes it hard to kind of start doing the work or really continue doing the work wherever you're at is just like being busy and not
Mhm.
prioritizing it. But yeah, but then again, you don't prioritize it until you get
Exactly.
notched
Until
down and
you're,
then
like,
you're
left with
like
no
at the
choice.
bottom and then I'm sick and I only have this option. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like you were talking about something before, and I had a thought, but I forgot. It was before the dishwasher. What were we talking about? I don't know.
It'll come back. Cameron, childhood, better, worse. Um,
Oh, okay. It was not related at all to anything that we were talking about and actually had to do with the dishwasher. I feel like we need to have, or we could have, I don't want to say need or should, we could have an entire episode on like neurodivergent and like the
yeah.
executive dysfunction. And because I feel like a lot of people relate to that and not,
Yes.
it's more like now people talking about it, more
Yeah.
awareness. But, yeah, I feel, and also it's so nice having a conversation with another neurodivergent because there's no, like, not getting it, you know what I mean? Like, it
Oh,
just
for
feels
sure.
so nice
Even
to not have
when
to explain everything in detail to, like, a neurotypical.
No, for sure. Even my boyfriend is, like, has some ADHD tendencies,
Mhm.
may we say, and I think I do too, for sure. And it's funny how, like, I'll see things around the house and I'll know exactly, like, oh, okay, so like he started this and then he like got distracted by that, and I'm like, okay.
Can see the
But I do the
progression.
same thing, so that's how I
Right.
know, right? Yeah, no, exactly.
That's
No,
so
yeah,
funny.
I'd love to talk about the neurodivergent stuff. I think it's really interesting. I know you have a lot to share. You were reading that book last time you came out to visit me.
Oh, yeah, I still have to
Um,
finish
aut
that book.
autism specifically, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that would be, like, a really cool episode to do.
Yeah, I
It'd
love
probably go
that.
off on other tangents, but we can have the intention of talking about
Yeah.
that. I
No,
but
that's
this is what
fine.
I love, like, I feel like there's been so many times throughout this conversation where I'm like, everything we're touching on is about exactly what the name of this podcast is. Like, we're talking about
Yeah,
what healing and harmony looks like, and we're talking about the barriers to that. Like,
for
it's
sure.
just very, fitting and appropriate, I guess.
Mm,
Like,
yeah.
not planned, like, we don't have to have this whole, like, script, like, it just like, it's like that trusting again. We're gonna sound
Yeah.
really gross, but the trusting in the universe that we just picked a day, then we moved that day, and then I moved the time, and you were flexible, and here we are, and it's great. And fauna, like, baby. Then I'm gonna have to let her out because the boys are home, and she just gets too excited. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, do your thing. That's fine.
Fauna mana.